Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with a video. I don't have much time right now in my hands to pen everything down. As you can read the title, it is what it says. Honestly, I am scared, like completely, and so is my whole family. I was about to start the happiest part of my life, settling down and all, but I don't know if it's possible anymore. I will give as many details as possible, and some might find the whole story rubbish. Please understand, I am not faking it, and I need a way out of this. If you go through my previous posts, you can see how I have no friends or anyone close to me except my fiance. And now this whole mess surrounds him. I can't crawl to him. So please take this thing seriously and tell me how to think straight and what I should really do. I just need someone I can cling to, and I don't care if it's strangers on the internet. So, I live in Florida. A year ago, I went to Miami to celebrate my friend's bachelor party, and I met my now fiancé there. According to his story, his wife died during a car accident, and he wasn't in proper condition to look after his kids. So they were sent to live with their uncle, and he had no connection with them whatsoever. He was pretty cute and had a pretty decent way of living and was a social butterfly, so we met and instantly clicked. As I was also out of my long-term relationship at that time, I wasn't looking for anything that serious, and he wasn't either, so we decided to hit it off, and he just had moved to the same city as me, so yeah, it was all good. Soon, we both started catching feelings and decided to make it official. He wasn't dating a BF person, so we decided to get married, only after a year of knowing each other. He was like the perfect guy in everything. He would get me gifts and flowers, assure me as much as I wanted, and it all just felt right. He was like the nicest guy ever. Soon after, we decided to get married. I wanted to take a while just living the engaged life and just take time to adjust to the new beginning. And honestly, I didn't know this would turn out this bad. We decided to tie the knot in Miami, the same place where we met, because it just seemed to make sense to us. Now, we are not locals, so we had to book a hotel for our whole family. My fiancé didn't have much of his family left, so I never really asked him much after knowing about all the things he said he went through. Like, why would I make someone who has been through so much feel more miserable by asking all those questions? Skip to yesterday night, when all this crap happened. So basically what happened was I stayed at this hotel, and for my fiancé, he went to this place where they were having his bachelor's party at a friend's place. So he stayed there for 2 days and we took a hotel. The thing here is he said he didn't want to waste money on hotel rooms, so I thought that whatever was comfortable to him. It was around 8 p.m. at night when I heard a knock on my room. There was this girl who looked a little bit like my fiancé. I was confused about the whole thing, and she asked me if I was really getting married to her father, and he never told me he had a child. So I thought that she must be lying and all, because there's no way my fiancé would ever hide anything from me like that. I immediately called the reception and asked them why they let her in, and she snatched the phone from me and begged. She said to hear her out once. Like, I don't know, she didn't seem like a bad person, so I heard her. So, according to her, the guy I'm getting married to is her father. I am not dropping anyone's age because I don't want to be subjected to the whole age gap taboo, but my fiancé and I have quite an age gap, so yeah, it is possible for him to have an 18-year-old daughter. I didn't feel safe while talking to her in my room, so I took her to the lobby and made her sit in one of those waiting chairs and listen to whatever she had to say. And yes, there were people around, and I ain't that dumb. We sat and started talking. She started talking about her childhood and everything, how she grew up and the places she mentioned. My fiancé has mentioned those places before too. So I kind of started trusting her, and then she started talking about her mother. I just couldn't understand any of the words she said about the whole thing. According to her, my fiancé murdered her mother and later was trying to murder her too, but she ran away. This is the simplest way I can put everything into words over whatever she said to me. Now, I know this becomes so hard to believe this way, and it was for me too. I didn't believe at first either, but the thing is, later she showed me all the proofs, and when I started trusting her and the way the whole thing was started to escalate, I took her to my room, called my parents there. Look, if she has proofs, such as records, court papers, and articles about it, there's no point in not trusting her anymore. We go upstairs, and she starts telling me the whole story. So basically, what happened was, my fiancé was married to this woman right after getting into college, and they both had to drop out of it because he got his wife pregnant. Soon after they settled down and started living their own lives, my fiancé's parents refused to help him anymore, and he started struggling financially. And they just had a baby, so life was really difficult for them, and he started becoming abusive after getting into drugs. By the time the girl came to meet me, I was 6. According to her, my fiancé used to tie her up and inflict pain on her since she was little and considered her as the root of his problems under influence. I have never seen him do drugs or do any illegal things before. This was like something new for me to hear about him, as if he was some other person before. Then things went really bad on them. When one day his wife fought back to him, he suddenly got really mad and started beating her to death. And as she was already sick and weak, she died after a few smashes on her head. And for the girl, when she saw her dad beating her mom up, she was scared and ran away to the grandfather's house. I thought the wife was someone who used to go to college with my fiancé, but it turns out it was someone who was just 15 years old, and honestly, it's hard for me to type all these because the whole situation here makes me want to throw up. Like it's just inhuman to do this kind of shit to someone. She showed us all the evidence and even provided us with the number of the lawyer who fought the case. But later, when the verdict was pending, my husband ran away too, and he was actually on the listings of the most wanted people with a bounty of $7,000 on his head. I am devastated. My life feels so endangered. I didn't know I was getting married to a sociopath murderer. And what if I am his next target? Everything just scared me. I called the police, and we have the daughter with us in case we need someone to explain the whole story. And I am scared and heartbroken at the same time. Like I have been lied to about everything by my fiancé. And I am scared for my life too. Like, what if he comes for me next? So, 2 weeks have gone by. I called off the wedding but didn't inform my fiancé or his friends because what if he gets angry and starts hurting me? My father called the police and we had a meeting together and the daughter explained the whole situation to them. They immediately contacted the local police station from the hometown of my fiancé and found out indeed whatever the girl was telling was the truth. And he also had so many charges related to drugs and gang fights. After a few legal procedures, they set a trap the next day to arrest him, and they did. He was really scared at that moment. He went from the nice, sweet guy to some violent murderer in a matter of seconds when he understood that I helped the police, and seeing his daughter, the matter only got worse and worse. He is already in prison for 20 years. So maybe 20 years is the most I have, and I don't know, but he was also charged for child abuse, and we all know what happens to child abusers in prison. At least from what I've read from Reddit, the conditions for them are brutal with the inmates. He really looked scary, and I heard his confession too. He was really awfully calm about confessing his crimes, telling them each gruesome details about the murder scene, and I can't even imagine in my wildest dreams that I was with a sadistic killer all these years and didn't even know about it for a single minute or never suspected anything fishy. Like after this, I would never trust anyone no matter what. And to clear another thing you all asked for, According to her, she found me on Facebook when she saw the pictures of me and my fiance. And I'm a regular poster, so you can really find everything that's been going on in my life on Facebook. So she found the address of the hotel from the posts I made, and the rest is history. It reminds me of that one Reddit post where the wife killed all her children after her husband found out that she was cheating, and after divorce wanted custody of the children. There are so many pathological psychopaths in this world, and honestly, I am more worried about the daughter, like everything she went through and how brave she is, that she had the courage to save another woman from being a victim of her father's crime. And the wife deserves so much better, honestly. An OP's age gap is not an internet taboo, and from this I hope you learnt your lesson. And go for guys who are your age and clean. You know, reading this whole thing sounds traumatizing in its own ways. Like, this is just so scary. My ex-husband and I were together for 12 years, dated for 5, married for 7, and had 3 children before we got divorced after he came out to me as gay. I was greatly in the wrong for the way I first reacted. I said hurtful, uneducated things and accused him of using me. My parents, who knew he was gay before I did, told me to stop centering myself around his coming out. I wouldn't have been so enraged if children weren't involved and if he had been more upfront about his sexuality to me. After we got divorced, my ex and his husband started a relationship and eventually got married. My parents are very friendly with my ex and his husband. I can understand and sympathize since my ex's own family is incredibly homophobic and keep pressuring him to marry a woman. My ex's husband is a lovely man we've known since high school. Although I'm jealous of him, I can't bring myself to hate him when he's done nothing wrong. A few months ago, my ex and his husband announced that they were expecting a child. My parents got really excited. A little too excited, in my opinion. My mother proposed the idea of going shopping for baby clothing and essentials, while my father posted about the news and even told my ex about all the things he'd love to do with his child when they're older. I felt off about the way that they were treating my ex, but when I tried communicating with them about my feelings, they shut me down. I was worried about how my ex would handle 4 kids, 3 of them with which he shares custody. I, again, expressed how I felt, to my ex this time, and my parents inserted themselves into the conversation. They said I need to stop trying to police my ex's life and let him live freely since he, I quoted them, wasted 12 years with me. I was ready to flip a table. They were only thinking about him, but never me. I didn't say anything to not cause any issues. Last week, their child was born, and they hosted a celebration the day after. I congratulated them and gave presents, but didn't attend as it was my day with our 3 children, and I didn't want the children to disturb the baby. My parents had promised to come over and help take care of the children, but they bailed on me at the last minute to go to my ex's baby welcoming celebration. I held back my anger and hung up on them, then called my sister to help. After a few hours, my parents showed up at my doorstep. I told them to leave because they made it clear to me that I'm not important to them. Therefore, they're not worthy of seeing my children. They called me childish and repulsive, but I kept ignoring them and refused to unlock the door. After a few hours, I received a text from my ex asking me if I was okay and spammed messages from my parents about my outrageous behavior. I can understand why they're protective of my ex, but I think they're crossing the line. I'm biased and bitter, though, so AITA? My parents found out about my ex's sexuality only a few hours before I did. I'm glad they didn't give him to me, but it hurts knowing that he trusts them more than he trusts me. My ex, his husband, and I were all friends at high school. He and his husband have always been intimate, which made my sister suspect that they were having an affair, or at least an emotional one. But she's biased too. My ex didn't know he was gay for the majority of our relationship, so I highly doubt that he was cheating on me. 100% NTA. They said I need to stop trying to police my ex's life and let him live freely since he, I quoted them, wasted 12 years with me. And then they called you repulsive? They don't respect you and don't even appear to love you. They are either trying to replace you or live out some fantasy. Maybe they always wanted a boy instead of a girl. It's pretty common. The fact that apparently they knew that he had been lying to you for years but never bothered to tell you is a huge red flag, as is their behavior since. There's this woman I babysit for who lives down the street from me. Due to our schedules, I babysit for her on Mondays and Wednesdays. The other babysitter who I'm friends with babysits on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Sticking to the schedule, it was Wednesday. I was very stressed out and not in the best headspace. The kids were playing outside and I was inside, where I could still see them, doing homework and studying. For some reason, I wasn't feeling good. I was just feeling dizzy and my stomach was acting up. I threw up multiple times and I could barely stand up. I called the woman and asked if she could come home because something was wrong and I needed to leave. She told me to try and hold on until the end of the day. After like 15 minutes, I texted her again, telling her I needed to leave. I called the other babysitter and asked if she was free and if she could come over because I wasn't feeling good, and she agreed. I could barely make it outside the house. My brother came to pick me up. I fell asleep as soon as I got home. I woke up to missed calls and texts from the lady asking why I left. I called her back and told her that I couldn't stay because I wasn't feeling good. She said I didn't sound sick and I could have held off until the end of the day. I said it didn't sound like much to her, but I could barely make it to the car. I told her if she's going to treat me like this, then I don't want to babysit for her again, and I hung up on her. The other babysitter's schedule is often filled on days that she doesn't babysit, so she couldn't take those days that I babysat. I was lucky that she came. She told me that she really needs someone to babysit on my days and that she can't afford to lose me. I told her I needed time to think about it. I feel pretty bad, but I don't want her to make me work if I clearly wasn't able to do it. AITA here? Quick edit. This has also happened once before, with a personal emergency. She wouldn't let me leave, but that time I stayed. Another edit. I should probably add that she was not working at this time. She was at a party for a friend she has not seen in years. I think it's also important to mention that babysitting started as a favor. When the other babysitter's schedule changed, I offered to help her. This became regular and I started getting paid for it soon after. NTA, this has happened more than once. She blew up your phone and said that you didn't sound sick. I'd run far away from that situation. If she pushes the situation, remind her of how you were treated by her and how this wasn't the first time. See if she comes up with an excuse instead of an apology. That will tell you everything.